Hello everyone, Tony here. I'm gonna start the Survive 25 challenge by Rusty Money Gaming and Crust2. This is my first video ever, so bear with me. This is a long series. It's basically a series that's gonna take the whole. You're gonna play the whole time that FS25 is out till the new version comes out. So obviously, it's not something you're gonna play every day, but You'll, I'll play quite a bit here at the start, and then later on, this series might go down to maybe once a week, once every other week, or something like that. And I'll discuss more about what the challenge is. It'll also be in the description below, and just get into more details about it. But for right now, as you can see, I've got $250,000. Normally, with this challenge, you start with 500K and you've got a debt of $250,000. I want to start this instead of having 500K. I went with 250, but I want to start it with basically zero, but also have the $250K debt. So, what I've done here is I've got a loan of 500,000 and I started with a 250K. So I'm just going to pay back this 250K right now, uh, just to get myself down to being in debt 250,000. So what that means is I have no equipment, I have no land. We can go up here to land and uh, farmland, see what you're owned, and you can see the map. If I can do it right, I have nothing. It's all free to buy. So what I'm going to have to rely on is contracts. And I know a lot of people do contracts right off the bat. It's kind of what you have to do in these series, or it's an easier way. But normally I don't like leasing or borrowing equipment. But obviously I have $0. I'm going to have to borrow equipment. Um, I am going to limit myself. One of the rules I'm putting in for myself is I can only lease equipment or borrow this equipment this first year. After that, any contracts I do, I have to own the equipment. So, what that means is, like, if you want to do a fertilizing contract in year 2, you have to have the tractor and the fertilizer. That's just the way I normally play. I'm also going to have it where there is no leasing at all. I don't have I don't want to lease, and I can't take any more loans. That 250 you see is the max, and as I start paying it off, I can't go back in there and take more back out. Say I pay 50,000 off, and I go back and take 250,000 out. Uh, I just don't think that's fair. We can also go through our settings, kind of what I've got it on. I've got the difficulty as normal. I do have seasonal growth on. So winter time, our contracts are going to be pretty limited. It's going to be slim pickings. Um, 1 day a month, snow is on. I do have crop destruction off. I like driving across lots, taking shortcuts. That's another thing. I guess I got traffic off. Traffic is so buggy on this game, it just causes issues. I know it's entertaining for some, but it's annoying. I've left everything else on for now. We'll see as we go. Disaster, I have it as visual only. Um, Everything else is pretty standard like it was, except on the AI workers, I have everything shut down off at the moment. I will be using a lot of AI workers. It's one of the things I really like about FS25. Keeps it interesting to me to where I don't have to do 100 contracts myself, or even once I start getting my own farms. It's just what I prefer. So I guess that's basically the premise of it. So I guess we'll go over here and look at what contracts are available at the moment. The the other thing I should mention is I play on PC. So normally, like if you play on console, you're only allowed 3 contracts at a time. I do have a contract mod that allows me to have more than 3 contracts going, and I will be utilizing that so that, like this hoeing job, um, I can take this hoeing job, and my plan is to probably borrow the items for the first one, keep the equipment, keep the contract open, even though it's done, and then I'll just keep keep using that equipment on the next jobs. That way I don't have to pay this $779 leasing cost. So, but I think I will take that contract to start. It's one of the, I have to make sure I click borrowing. I'm so used to having my own equipment that I'm probably going to screw up once or twice. So let's go up there. Nice case tractor. Hoeing is probably one of my favorite contracts to do, just because it's quick, easy, and then especially with this hoe that they give you on a lot of the hoeing contracts, it's the one I buy for myself when I'm doing contracts. It's just a nice size. The one annoying thing about it is, for some reason, I drop it off a lot. I don't come to a stop, or I click a wrong button when I come into a field, and I unhitch it, and it wants to fall over a lot. But other than that, it's a good hoe, and who doesn't need a good hoe? So let's go down here. Trying to remember, field 13, I believe, is down and around the corner. We'll talk a little bit more about what the Survive 25 challenge is. Basically, the premise is you're looking to start 3 farms, 3 separate farms, I should say, and each one of them should end up with a production chain attached to it. So let's say you get a dairy, you've got some dairy cattle. Ultimately, you would end up buying the dairy on this map and running it as part of that. The other thing with the challenge is all the equipment is separate. So like this, your farm number 1, that dairy, you can't take a tractor from it and go work on farm number 2. Farm number 2 has to have its own equipment, its own tractors. So keep that in mind. You can, have something like a truck or something to go, a pickup to go in between if you want to do that. That's up to you. Just kind of the equipment and the tractors, the best you can. It might get a little messy once you start having a dozen tractors. So let's see here. I do love the AI, the GPS, and I use it a lot just because it makes it easy. I can go down the fields. I'm recording now, obviously, but if I wasn't, I could do something else or look at the computer, switch to a different YouTube video. Just makes it life a lot easier. But like I say, I do use a lot of AI workers. Once I get some money here, I'll plan on using them. So part of that farm is each farm has to have certain items. Each farm needs a farmhouse, it needs 2 sheds and a silo. So one of the stipulations that I'm doing as well is each farm is going to have a constructible building. So like one of those sheds or the house is going to be the constructibles, and I'm going to have to build that. I'll probably keep it different for each one. So one will build a house, one will build a garage, and one will build a shed or something like that. As of now, I think each farm will have its own sawmill that'll provide the wood for those constructibles. There is a mod out that sawmill mod out that costs about $50,000. That it does a lot. It has a lot of that in it. It does a good job. It's much better than the cheap 36K one that Giants provided. The one thing it doesn't have is the prefab wall. So if there's a prefab wall or the cement part of it, I haven't decided. More than likely, I'll just purchase those. Purchase those instead of making it. But the wood I want to make myself. The other thing, there will be no passive income earners like solar panels, wind generators, stuff like that. That's just going to make the challenge a little too easy. So that stuff I won't be using. Collectibles. This map has, what is it? I can't remember. 25, I believe, collectibles. Each one of them's worth $10,000. I won't be collecting collectibles unless it's on a piece of land I own. If it's in a building and I own the land, great. I'll collect it. I'll take that $10,000. That is until I have at least 500 hours on this save. At that point, I can go collect them all. That $250,000 that you're going to get, or by then it's probably not even going to be that much because I will have collected some. It's not going to make that big of an impact on your bottom line like it would if I, like right now, if I just went and pulled up a video and instantly went out there and collected all 25 collectibles, I'd have $250,000. It would kind of free up a lot of the pain. So yeah, here's another hoeing job. I'm keeping that one open just so I can keep using this, because if I was to take this one, $779, and it only pays $815, it'd be a total waste of my time. It's not a great contract the way it is. And I may even look down through here and see if I can find a different contract to do in the meantime. But I might just run down there and leave this tractor down there too. Maybe I'll do that. So yeah, no collectibles for me. Like I said, no loans, no leasing. I can only borrow this equipment for the first year, and then I'll start doing my own. But it's going to be a lot of contracts at the bat. I mean, obviously I have no land, no way of making money. Boy, that's about as far across the map as. Maybe I'll go back, leave this at the store, see what other contract I can do for now. There'll be more hoeing contracts. We'll work our way over to that as we go. So, and kind of the reward of this is there's different levels. If you can still have this saved when the new version comes out. If you have 500 hours, you're kind of a bronze level, and it goes up all the way from there to 1500 hours is the platinum level. So if you got 1500 hours on this save, you're in platinum. A few of the other achievements you can do is each farm can build one of the buildable objects on this map. So I know there's like the playground, there's the what is it? Like a grain mill museum. That's the only two I know of. If anybody knows of a third one, let me know. I will be building both of those, and you kind of have to have one farm build it. So essentially, if you're buying the materials from it, it's obviously coming from it's coming from the joint farms. But if you're providing the wood and stuff, I'll just have it come from a farm. So I'm thinking one of the first farms I'll have will be a sheep farm, because the playground is from what I gather, is one of the longest ones to achieve on this map. And it takes fabric and rope, which you will need sheep or cotton. So I'm thinking of going the sheep route, starting it, and doing that as my first one. I could do these fertilizing contracts if I had some money, because you're going to have to buy fertilizer, and I will do these. But I'm going to say this weeding contract is going to be the one I got to do, because I don't think I have any other choice. Yeah, we'll have to do that. So yeah, that's my first farm. Will probably build the playground. I haven't decided, like, the cement. I know it takes like cement bags, and a lot of the buildables take cement bags and cement roof. I haven't decided if I'm actually going to do that, provide the material, build or buy the cement factory, make them. I don't know yet. You can get free rock on here, or build the debris crusher, which is I don't know, about $100,000. But you would have to buy the cement factory or make your own, which is about $370,000. So you're talking about a $470,000 investment. It might be easier to just buy that stuff, but yet we are talking about a long-term save, so maybe it is something I look into, just to give yourself something extra to do to keep yourself interested. I don't know what to think about this ferry. It's fine if it's over here, but then I never know if it started until it gets halfway close. Sometimes it just doesn't give me a audio cue that it started to come my way. That, and the ferry's fine. Like I said, if it's over here and you can get on it and go across, it's quick. But then if you run into the barges coming across, well, they screw you up. You know, you can't. You gotta wait for them. Which you feel like, okay, I could go around quicker. It's probably like the equivalent of waiting at a railroad track in real life when a train slows down or stops and you have to wait. You think, oh, I can go around and be quicker, and probably by the time you went around, it's past, and you would have been through there if you waited. But let's be honest, nobody has patience for that. I've never. One thing about doing contracts too is I get to use a lot of new equipment. Do a lot of crops maybe that I've never done. I should mention that too. I'm fairly new to the farming simulator series in general. I played a lot of farming sim, or first played it, I should say, way back when it was on Xbox 360. So I can't remember if that was the first one that came out or the second one that I was playing. Like if it was the regular one or 15, one of those two. And I played a lot. I wouldn't say a lot, but maybe 100 hours of it. Then I was also playing on Xbox a few years ago when 25 was on Game Pass, so I fired it up and probably played about, I don't know, 100 hours of it again on that, which I thought it was pretty cool. It gets a little repetitive, and that's one of the things I really like about the AI workers now, being able to do that, or even just the GPS. It takes a lot of that out, the monotony. Let's see, where were we going again? 49. So there's a lot I don't know, and a lot of equipment, a lot of crops that I've never done, Animals? Like, I've never had this tractor before. Like I say, now I play on PC, but I do use a controller. I can't use a keyboard. Just years of playing on the Xbox, I pretty much struggle to, if I had to use a keyboard. I will flip back and forth. You know, it is nice having a mouse for certain things in this game. I do enjoy being on the PC because I'm sure as most of you that have played this game, you know, you have so many more mods, and you will see some PC only mods that I use on here. Like Lumberjack mod, which is great for getting rid of stumps and a brush and all that. It also has super strength, which I'll try not to abuse. I don't have it on there to abuse, but like I was talking before about that hoe falling off my tractor and falling over. Well, normally if you don't have super strength, you're going to have to fiddle around, try and get it flipped back up. You can reset it, send it back to the store, but that's situations where I like to use it, get that up, or I'm a poor driver, I end up wrapped around the telephone pole, I can drag my tractor away from it. Just glitches in general too. There's right now this game has a few bugs where you get stuck in the ground. It's nice to have that as well. So, but it's not something I'm going to abuse, turn on to abuse. But I like having a challenge with the game. I mainly like more the financial challenge and that than some of the other challenges, like I'm trying to think of an example. Auto load. I do like auto load for like bales and pallets. Pull up, you know, rather than using a fork or pallet fork to lift all that on. I understand some people say, well, that's not realistic. I'm not totally into the realistic. I'm into the quality of life mods that make the game more enjoyable. What I'm not into is mods like the government subsidy, which just gives me a ton of money. You know, anything to do with money. The buying stations I like having a buying station, but I don't want a buying station that's giving me 50% off of all my goods I buy. It kind of makes it a little too easy, and you're just going to get bored quick. So that's kind of some of the mods I look for. Try to think what other mods I'm gonna have on here. You know, I've got a lot of equipment mods, obviously. As FS keeps going, you get cheaper equipment or interesting equipment you want to try. I got a few of those on here. Some buildings, different houses, different sheds. Quality of life, like I said, that I do have that contract mod. I'm not limited to 3 contracts. I can have several open, which is nice. And I'll be adding mods as we go. When I'm recording this right now, it's late on Saturday, January 4th. Giants is on their holiday vacation, from what I understand, just from reading from Giants. They'll be back Monday in a few days, and then they should start working on mods again. And from what I gather, there's a bunch just sitting there waiting to be reviewed. So we could get dumped on with a bunch here shortly. But I know a lot of people in the community are really harping on they're missing all their mods. That's one thing they don't like about 25 over having played 22. But from somebody that didn't play that much of 22, I guess I don't know what I'm missing, is what I'm saying. So for me, I'm really enjoying the equipment we have. I do understand for some of the survival challenges, even this challenge would be a lot easier if we had a lot more, a lot cheaper equipment. A lot of the equipment we have is what I would call more the medium range. Oh, see, wrong button. You see nothing? Yeah, more of the medium equipment. So, you know, a cheap tractor starts at, you know, the what, $45,000. So it's not very cheap. It's tough to start from zero and have to pay that for a tractor. So I think a lot of people are looking for cheap equipment to come out. I'm more excited about, like I say, the quality of life mods, the easier loading. I've done a little bit of wood contracts and woodworking, and it's difficult. Like even here, we've got the wood transports. I don't know how many I'm gonna do of those, if any. Even though that's a good paying contract on here, it's just a pain trying to run those loaders. And I don't know. I know if you did it, you'd probably get better. Some people say you're better off with like a joystick. It would help you. I don't know. It's rough. I don't enjoy it. I do a little bit of it if I do a survival, like on the new Frontier map. You about have to, because you know it's a bunch of forestry. But something like an autoloader or something there that would help load logs, maybe even cut them down, because not cutting them, but delimiting them. Delimiting is kind of bugged right now. It's a little tough to delim one. You know you think you're getting in a good rhythm and deliming a bunch, and the next thing you know that you know that one's got a bunch of limbs stuck into the ground below. You don't know what's holding it up. But so yeah, those are the types of things that I'm looking for. We got that one done. I don't know whether return that it would work. I guess we're going to keep it open for just a little bit. See what else came in while we were doing all that. Bale wrapping. Definitely going to do the bale wrapping. Spraying, it's kind of like fertilizing. I'm going to have to pay for the spray, so I'll probably hold off on that. But let's borrow this and jump back and go take care of this contract. Yeah, like this Kloss tractor is another tractor I haven't used yet. I don't know what horse this thing has. It's kind of sluggishly slow. Just pull on a bale wrapper. So how many of you are doing the Survive 25 challenge? Maybe post below, and if I haven't checked out your 25, I've watched quite a few series so far, but I'm just curious of how people attack different challenges and how they set it up for themselves. So if you would post that in the comments below. Yeah, this thing's kind of a pooch. Barely pulling this hill. Yeah, I don't want this. I won't be buying one of these. Full transparency, I started this challenge already, and I was about 180 hours into it. I had all three of my farms going, all the production going for them. I hadn't started the two big map projects, you know, the museum or the playground yet. But I just thought it was going too easy. I thought I wanted to start recording it too to kind of document it. One thing I've found in the farming simulator community, it's a good community. I just thought I would start recording and be a part of it, and if nothing else, I would have a documented of this 25. So in 3 years, could look back and see how it came about, I guess. So oh, automatic drop, not on. I'm not a big fan of this bale wrapper. I mean, it is nice that it does both round and square bales, but I find the round one is just a little better. It's quicker on, I don't know, grabbing the bale. Just the way it seems like I can keep moving better. But I have bought this one before, and it is a nice one to buy, especially if you're going to do contracts, because then you aren't limited. If you do contracts like I do it, where you have to own the equipment, then you own this one. You can do both contracts. And I do like doing silage. It pays well. Mowing, baling. It's what I enjoy a lot in the game too. It's kind of what I did as a kid. All my summers I spent at my grandpa's, and we just put up hay for most of the summer. So I would mow, my cousin would rake, and my brother would bale or stack. Back then, because I'm fairly old, it was some of that was before we had round bales, so we stacked hay to a big haystack. But yeah, the one thing I like about mowing, baling, and all this is you can look back at a field and see everything's done. You know, when you do like a fertilizing or spraying contract, you look back, you know, unless the field is wet from it, you really don't feel like you accomplished anything. I do like the fertilizing contracts in this because they're quick. I wish you didn't have to buy your own fertilizer, but I understand that's just part of the contract. But yeah, baling, uh, fields of grass is something I really like, and I'll probably have. I had a lot in that playthrough that I did with 180 hours. I was doing a lot of silage. What I don't like is picking these bales up. So that gets back to the quality of life. I do like, you know, they do have trailers now that'll pick it up, auto pickup, which I like. And a lot of people will say, "Well, that's too easy. You should have the forks and be picking them up." Or and I do like there's a round bale trailer in the store from Anderson that's pretty easy to pick up bales, but once you get to doing a pretty big volume of this, it's nice to have those trailers. So let's see, that one wasn't too bad. I wonder We're gonna have to start completing some of these. Oh, this is another one that I am not a big fan of, plowing. I'll probably take this contract, but I'll assign a worker when I have some money. I don't know why. I hate plowing in this game. I hate plowing in general. You know, I talked a little bit about when I was a kid doing field work, and plowing was one of the worst. I don't know if it's because it just takes so long to do. Uh, we got two contracts here. They're both round bale. So I'm going to borrow the items for this one. But I'm going to do both contracts, and I'll just accept the contract on this one. That way I get the full 1166. Plus, I could have took the other baler, but I like this baler better. One thing, if this is the baler, I'm thinking size. What's the bale size? Yes, we can go to 180 on this. So that's nice. Having a big bale speeds it up. We don't have to stop as much. That's another mod that I have on here, is a bale mod that slows the tractor down as the bale's getting ready to be completed, and it makes you stop. It stops you until the bale is wrapped and kicked out, which is kind of nice because you don't have to worry about not stopping in time and missing part of the hay. Trying to remember, Field 3 I think is part of the original farm down here. Which I do like this original farm. And I'll probably be buying it for one of my farms. I don't know if it'll be the starting farm. I like how flat it is. Yep, you didn't see that. Didn't happen. Did not happen. Shut up, cow. It didn't happen. Let's turn on automatic. But yeah, I like the flat area. One thing I'm not a huge fan of in simulator this game is the building. How it builds when you place objects, and sometimes it's in a hole or builds it on a hump, and it's just like I struggle with the terrain tool. If anyone has tips for that or a good video on that, please let me know, because if I know I'm going to be doing a lot of building, like a home place where you're going to have a house and buildings and barns and sheds, I kind of like it to be flat, because it's frustrating. I know I said I'm not going to pick up much things like pallets. I'll probably use a trailer that picks them up automatically. But that makes it even harder if you were going to use like pallet forks. Just that little bit of a dip that it makes is frustrating to try and get under it with the way the terrain is. So yeah, like this mod should be kicking in. It's slowing me down, and I've just got cruise control still set, but it's going to end up stopping me here when the bale is full. I wish it would go a little longer before it does it. I think the slowdown's a little long, but it's nice not missing that. One thing about this farm here, though, is I'm not a big fan of the sheds. I'm not a guy that likes to park all his equipments in the shed. I don't like backing it into a shed, I should say. I don't mind parking it. There's a good mod out there with like an open shed where you can drive through one side. I kind of like that mod. I have that mod. I'll probably put up some of those sheds on here when I build my farms. But these, like the red barn here looks really nice, but it's a pain to park for how big it is, how much area it takes. It just doesn't seem very usable. It looks great, but from a practicality point, it's just not that good. And there's a lot of sheds on this map that are even worse than that. Speaking of sheds, there's that shed right over there, and I believe you get that with either Field 4 or Field 5 if you buy it. And that's what I was talking about, the collectibles. There is a collectible in that shed that's worth $10,000. So, I could run over there and grab it and give myself $10,000 right now, but I just don't think it's not what I want to do. Everybody's free to do whatever they want to do. I think I have to own that land. Then it's fine. I can sell the shed. I can sell anything on that land. I can go grab that if I want it. But until then, I'll kind of just suffer. This is what I mean. We're only at 92%. It will slow you down enough that it's a little annoying if it catches you, especially on a turn. And like I said, this is my first video, so I'm not sure how much speeding up I can do, even cuts. I'm not even sure how I'm going to edit these. It's all going to be a learning curve for me. So I'm sure I'll get better at, adding music, speeding up a lot of this monotony, because there will be a lot, especially this first year. I mean, when I got it in my head, there might be the first year or two here is going to be pretty contract heavy. It's just where it is, where we're starting with zero and a debt that we got to pay every day. The debt, if I remember right, you're probably looking somewhere around like 850, 830, something like that, a month. So that's a day, and the way I have the game set up. So every day I gotta come up with that much for the debt. I'll probably not pay off the debt for a few years. Like I said, I can't. I don't want to take any other loans, so it does me no good to pay that off. I think I can use that $250,000 to make more money and make up that $835 a day, no problem. That's one of my beefs with this game. I think the loan is too easy. The interest rate is too cheap. It's too easy to take out a huge debt. If you could start with $1 million and have $1 million debt, it's fairly easy to make it in this game. The interest rate's just not that crazy. It doesn't stifle you enough. Same way with leasing. I know a lot of people talk about leasing mods. There's lease to own, which I'm not sure how the lease to own works. It'd be fine if you paid extra. If you ran that lease to own, you ended up paying more. But if it's just spread out payments, it's essentially a loan. I don't know. It's just another loan. I would like the leasing to be harder. I've seen some guys that say if I'm leasing on a piece of equipment, I've got to lease it for 6 months, 12 months, a year. I like that concept, although it just gives you some paperwork to do that you got to keep track of that. Well, when did I When did I do that? Alright, so where's that other field? 27, I can't remember. 27 is up top. It's kind of an odd one. Okay. Might just leave the map big while I drive up there. Don't know if I've been to that particular piece of land very often. Sorry, moving my drink and driving like a wild man. But yeah, if it had some sort of leasing, like where by the time you paid it off, you paid 1.5 of what it was worth. So if you bought $100,000 piece of equipment and you paid 150,000 by the time you paid it off, I might experiment around with that. Sounds interesting, especially on some of the bigger equipment that you get into, like some of the high-end combines, the forestry equipment that's 400, 500, even $750,000. That equipment is tough to come up with the money in cash. Yeah, we're not stopping. No stop sign. So like I said, I think my first farm is going to be centered around sheep and wool. We'll probably end up buying the spinnery and the tailor shop, run the wool to the spinnery, to the tailor shop. Probably going to get the rope shop as well with that farm, just because we are going to build the playground and I know it takes rope. I think this is saying we can go down this road. Yep. So we'll have the spinnery. I haven't done. I've had sheep on the first time I attempted this. I had a few of them. And I kind of quit doing anything with them. I built a meadow for them, and the meadow kind of quit working. And from what I gather, it's bugged. Like the meadow should come back each year, but it's not. I think one of the workarounds is you can plant grass first and then build your pen over the top of that, and they can eat that. But my fear is if Giants patches that, and if you build over the top of that, you got to say you don't want a meadow. Well, if they fix it and the meadow works, well then you're going to need to rebuild that pen. Now, I don't know when I'll get started on sheep, so I'm hoping that's something Giants fix when they come back from their holiday vacation. And I can do a meadow, have a little bit of grass going to get them through if the meadow runs out. But otherwise, I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. And when I did have it, I can't even remember. I had one large pen with extra, and I had it clear full. It was struggling to keep up with. It couldn't even come close to keeping up enough fabric for the spinnery, and the spinnery doesn't produce enough for the tailor shop to make the clothes. I don't know if I need to go multiple of those or just be content with what it's producing. I haven't decided on that yet, or even how much it would take. How many sheep does it take to keep the spinnery full of fabric, full producing fabric every day? Probably do some math behind that and figure it out. But we'll have some fun with that. I'm looking forward to doing some livestock. And actually, I'm thinking about, I'm going to have at least 2 series going on this Survive 25, and probably another series. Little challenges that are going to be shorter than this, obviously. Maybe even 3, but one of them I've got an idea of doing is an animal one. Kind of where I tackle all the animals, because that's something I really haven't done. Way back in the original or the second one, it seems like I did a little bit of cattle with some silage, but outside of that, I've done the sheep on FS25 here for just a little bit. But I haven't done like dairy cows, goats, chickens, horses, all those. So looking forward to diving into some of that as well. Let's see, we can unload the bale. Now this field we can collect. So as you can see, I've got all the, it's nice having that multiple contracts because I can just keep stacking them up here. So let's collect that one. Go back, see what other contracts, fertilizing ones are stacking up. Mowing, that's obviously not worth it unless more of them start coming in to stack up. Like I said, the plowing contract I'm not looking to do. I will take it and, oh, here we go. I think I'm going to borrow the items for this. I do have the weeding contract from the other one, but this is a much bigger equipment. That small weeder would take quite a while to do this. I think I'm going to borrow this and then keep this one, which means our weeding contract that we completed, we could collect on that as well. Which we do have a little bit of cash now, so I am going to go down to this plowing job and I'm going to borrow the items for it. And I'm going to jump back. Let's see, the plowing contract is here. I'm not going to do this myself. I'm going to take the equipment over there and I'm just going to get an AI worker started on this job. We'll just, this is what I mean. So this is a pretty big plow. I'm not sure which Fendt tractor this is either. I must have quite a bit of horsepower though, or else it wouldn't be able to handle that plow. This is field 2. Jeez, 39 miles an hour. I think I'm go across the road, right? I'm trying to remember where field 2 is, but I think it's over here. Yeah, this, I don't know if this is how good this tractor is, but it's fast. Speaking of equipment, like I say, the first year we're just going to do contracts and we're going to lease. I almost think I'm better off leasing that whole year since I said I could lease the first year. I'm probably better off just using their equipment for the whole first year. No sense in using my own and have wear and tear. So get them started on that. Come back here, we'll go do this weeding contract. But I will be collecting equipment. That's one of the good things about starting with zero and giving myself a whole year here, is I can just sit here and look in the store for used equipment that interests me. Planner's a good one. I don't know if I've got enough money to worry about any of these right now. I kind of like a no-till planner though. I know this is a mod that it's a cheaper planner. I do like this tractor. It's probably one of my favorite reasonably priced tractors, just because it comes with the front load attacher. You do get 175 horse. I believe this tractor is about 70,000 if you buy it new with the attacher. So I would not be heartbroken, but if I can, I'm kind of aiming for 200 horse plus on my tractors. It's just for things like the hoe and certain pieces of equipment. It just seems like the horsepower requirement will be is about that, I don't know, 160 to 200. So if I could cover that, I would prefer to go that route. I haven't used this weeder either, but the thing must be humongous when this folds out. This tractor isn't quite as fast as the Fendt, only 33 miles an hour, but as well as I drive, sometimes that's better that it isn't 39. Sometimes I get in with some of them trucks that go 55, 60, and it's just a recipe for disaster. And it'd be worse if I had traffic on, obviously. We're gonna hit some pedestrians. That's their fault, not mine. Field 19. Just cut across. Probably start unfolding as we're coming. Oh yeah. This seems kind of like a pooch, like it's pulling. We don't even have it down yet. Of course, it's weeding. It's not cultivating. I don't think it'll be as bad, but yeah. It's got a good distance. Problem is if 7 miles an hour is going to be the max, she's going to be a little slow. So yeah, I think I probably won't buy anything new this first year. There's no real need. If I'm going to rely on contracts, I might as well just keep shopping the sales and looking at the used equipment. But I'm curious, like what you guys' thought. Should I should I be looking to buy my own equipment and using it on these contracts the first year, or take advantage of that leasing, and the first year is nothing but lease? Sock away that cash and buy used equipment and just park it. I'd be interested in hearing it. Yeah, like plowing, they're down there, even though that plow is pretty big. We started it, it's 6%. Plowing just takes forever, but they are pretty lucrative contracts. So even though I don't use a plow much, I'll probably own a plow just for contracts, and I'll just put an AI worker on it. Just makes sense. There's a lot of lucrative contracts. That's the other thing with the used equipment. You know, I talked about that tractor. It'd probably be fine to buy that tractor because certain equipment can pull it. I like having extra tractors so that I can have a worker on contracts for those first few years. Now, at some point, I just quit doing contracts. You know, on the other one, I think I went hard for about a year. Now, that one I started out with the $500,000 cash, had the $250,000 loan. I didn't start with zero, but I went pretty hard on contracts for a year, and then very few after that, if any. I got to the point where I was going years without touching them. After you start getting your own land, and you're just busy enough with that all day, no need to do the contracts. The other thing, we got the speed at 5x. I will manipulate the speed a lot, you know, as this goes on, to try and squeeze in more contracts or speed it up to where we get more. You know, if we went through the contracts and I'm waiting for new ones, I might speed up the time. We're obviously not going to have a house for, well, for sure for the first year, maybe even on into the second year. So you can sleep at the starter place where your Grandpa Walter is. That's probably what we'll do. We'll go down there and sleep. I guess that's another question for you. I'm talking about buying used equipment. Should I be looking at land this first year? If I'm not quite sure how much money is going to come in from these contracts. If we have the money, should we be looking at land and parking our equipment there? You know, maybe even starting to work on that land. I don't know. My thinking was just focusing on the contracts and trying to get through that this first year would keep us busy enough. But I don't know, and I'm not sure how much money it's gonna make in the first year. I've never done this. I've never done this many contracts in the first year. I've never done the leasing to know how much that's going to take out. I do have the advantage of having the extra contracts, so I can keep this piece of equipment open till the end of the day and collect that contract. Keep using this tractor for free. That's kind of nice. But at the same time, I could be if I had my own farm, I could use this tractor on my farm. You can't use the equipment on your farm. The game doesn't allow you, but you could tweak it and, you know, just buy the equipment to pull behind and use these contract tractors to farm your ground. That's an option. Some of that I'm going to avoid. That one I probably would exploit. It also exploits, like if you're doing a harvesting contract, you can steal the straw. There's ways to pick that up, sell it. I probably won't do that. Nothing wrong with it. It's a flaw in the game. I'm not gonna poo on anybody that does it, and I may do it in some of my series, but I think for this one, seeing how I've got to be playing this thing for at least 500 hours, 500 to 1500 hours, there's no need to rush it and, you know, steal that, find ways to go hard on the exploits. Because I do know once you get fairly large, to me the game gets a little boring for me at that point. You know, having to put up bales on 20 pieces of ground 4 times a year. That's it gets rough. For a better way of saying it, basically just turns into a job at that point. I don't want that. I want to keep it a little bit interesting. If I can stay smaller, if I, you know, just even doing these contracts, you are doing different contracts over and over. So, you know, different equipment, it keeps it a little bit more interesting. Yeah, we should check that every so often just to make sure. So yeah, I don't know what to buy out of there. If I am going to have land and use the tractors, well then obviously I should be focusing on equipment. Maybe bypass the tractors. Tractors seems like it's something that always comes up fairly often in the used market. There's always decent deals. Like there you had that tractor I would pull the trigger on if I had the money. There's always decent buys on tractors. So missing one of them is not the end of the world. There'll be another one coming up. Uh, but one thing about I'm not real excited about using my own tractors this first year is they're going to be used, so the maintenance on them is going to be pretty severe too. That's something that you know, I do upkeep them, so down there fixing it, being used, it's going to deteriorate faster. So I think I'm going to stick to the leasing for the first year, and then that second year is we're mixing in our own land and the contracts with the tractors we own. We'll worry about that maintenance fee. There is also a workshop mod that I like that's out there, and basically it charges you $4,000 a day, but it does the maintenance for you. You pull up to it, it'll fix your tractors, it'll spray them off, clean them up, which I like because I like a clean equipment, clean tractors, but using the sprayers kind of sucks in this game too. It's a tedious task. It's kind of nice every night to pull up to that shop and, you know, basically have it done. Alright, so where did I pretty much went over this, right? Let me look at this field. 19, if I... Oh, there's a big strip right there. So yeah, I might use that mod once I've got my own place. Like I say, I don't think that's too cheaty of a mod. I like the the 4K a day seems reasonable. You know, if you did the math, it probably figures up because you're paying that regardless if that tractor moves or not. Maybe you don't use that tractor for 2 months. You're still paying them that money on it. But it's so much nicer than having to individually do that. If you just, it's kind of like every time you bring a tractor home, you park it in front of there for a little bit to get it cleaned off and fixed. So I believe that's a PC only mod at the moment too, but very nice. So where are we at? We got another baling contract, round bales. We're going to accept that. Harvesting. Oh, mowing. Definitely going to take some of these mowing contracts. I might take this. I would much rather use this equipment than this, I think. I think this will be faster. But I'm not sure where we're at time-wise here. This might be the end for the first video. If you made it this far, thank you for checking out my first video. If you could like and subscribe, that would be great. I'll be back. I may jump cut a little, I may do some of these contracts offhand. I'm not sure. Maybe leave in the comments what's the way to do it. Do we speed it up to get through the contracts? Do we cut it up? Do a little mixture of both, kind of end the day, tell you how. Because looking at the contracts, we're going to have a lot here. There's a lot of these that I'm going to accept before the end of the day. So I don't know whether to record them and speed it up, see how it goes, that type of deal, or just kind of give you a wrap up of how the day went. And because this first year, like I say, going to be all contracts, lots and lots of contracts. So, but with that, thank you for checking it out, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.